Welcome back, everyone. You will be left dumbfounded by what you are about to hear today. So, if you are new here, be sure to press the like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell. One man, Lee Min-ho, let his guard down and started, crying in the world of glamour and glitz, where feelings are frequently concealed beneath red carpet grins. In real life, he shed tears, but not in a scene or a film. What caused those tears? Song Hye Kyo was a woman whose silent power transformed everything. Today, we reveal the whole backstory of that heartfelt incident that stunned fans around. Why couldn't anyone else do what she did? What history do they actually have in common? This isn't just a celebrity headline, it's a tale of suffering, recovery, and the kind of connection that only occurs once in a lifetime. So get a cup of tea, relax, and stay with us through to the very end. Let's get started. It all began with a charity gala in the center of Seoul that was meant to be simply another peaceful evening. The reporters were busy, the cameras were in place, and the celebrities were looking their best. However, there was nothing at all that could have prepared the world for what they were about to see. Because one man, who was renowned for his charisma and elegance, suddenly broke down in front of thousands of people. Lee Min-ho was the man in question. He had no speech to give. He wasn't playing a part. He was not entertaining the cameras. The person he was observing was Song Hye Kyo, who was taking the stage to give a moving speech on love, sorrow, and second chances. Something about her voice, her posture, and her presence, her serene strength, her unadulterated grace, pierced beyond words. The hubbub in the room seemed to vanish as if time had stopped. Lee Min-ho, seated in silence close to the front row, struggled to keep his composure. Because only he understood the seriousness of what she had spoken. Only he had been close enough to see how strong she really was. And only he knew the unimaginable sorrow behind her eyes. How Song Hye Kyo was able to accomplish what no one else, not even the strongest of them, could. Lee Min-ho wept, but not because she was sad. He let out a cry of utter amazement. The relationship between Song Hye Kyo and Lee Min-ho has long been the subject of rumors. They have never formally acknowledged being a couple, but insiders have spoken of a strong bond that transcended public attention and flirtation. They were like-minded people, brought together by comparable life, wounds, grief, and the weight of being in the public eye since they were young. There are many beautiful women in this industry, but only one who understands the silence between chaos. Lee Min-ho reportedly confided in a close friend. Only someone who pays attention, even if you don't say anything. Song Hye Kyo was that one woman. Song Hye Kyo appeared years ago when Lee Min-ho was going through a very difficult time in his life, when he had lost a family member and was under a lot of criticism from the public. Not with cameras, though. Not with flowers. Not with anything other than gifts. She made no recommendations. She avoided using cliches in her speech. She just sat by him and allowed the silence to cure him. Few people realized he was talking. To her, when he later stated in an interview, "It was the first time I didn't feel alone in a room full of people." Their relationship, which was built on mutual understanding and silent support, was never glamorized in newspapers or shouted out on Instagram. Rather, it existed in private chats during rehearsals, in times that the public was not privy to, and in sidelong glances at award shows. Lee Min-ho was affected beyond words as he saw her speak with unadulterated candor, telling her narrative of dealing with heartache, betrayal, and the hurt of being misinterpreted. She did something that no one else could. Not just surviving everything she went through, but doing it with dignity, with grace, with her heart still open, he later said to a filmmaker friend while still crying. It was no secret what Song Hye Kyo had gone through. A traumatic, highly public divorce, rumors, betrayals, and media harassment, the kind of mental warfare that weakens even the most resilient people. Not her, though. She did not return the clap. She didn't break down. She took a proud stance, not out of rage, not to exact revenge. However, in peace. Now that she had completely rebuilt herself, she lifted people up by using her suffering. She discussed more than simply her personal story in her remarks that evening. In a society that encourages hardness, it was about the universal fight to heal, to trust again, and to remain soft. That night, Lee Min-ho shed some tears, but they weren't like anyone else's. They were for the person he knew her to be, the woman who had supported him in ways no one else had, and not only for her hardships. Lee Min-ho has personally witnessed her strength. She had shown him her calm generosity. He had direct knowledge of how this woman, who was frequently portrayed in the media as frail, was actually one of the most combative individuals he had ever encountered. He remarked, "She doesn't just survive. She makes me and everyone around her feel better." After the event, pictures of Lee Min-ho dabbing at her emotions went viral on the internet. Fans made wild guesses. Some questioned whether something had been reignited by the two stars. Others said it was just a friend showing admiration for a peer. Those with a deeper understanding, however, remained silent. Some stories are too holy to be gossiped about, not out of fear. Lee Min-ho said nothing behind closed doors. He made no press announcements. He didn't use mysterious captions when he posted on Instagram. He just went back to filming, arriving on site with a fresh feeling of intent, but a marked shift in his manner. One crewman described feeling as though he had seen something or someone that reminded him of the reason he had been on this journey in the first place. It was reverence, not sadness. Nothing had touched a man like Song Hye Kyo's tenacity, more than witnessing the rise and fall of innumerable actresses and sharing the screen with genius and beauty from all around Asia. She had never feigned perfection, not because she was flawless, because she opted for depth in a world that is fixated on images. Authenticity was more important to her than praise. Backstage, they had shared a brief, silent, yet electrifying encounter. She passed him without expecting anything. As the event came to a finish and the throng started to thin out, however, he got to his feet, looked her in the eyes, and they both smiled for the first time in what seemed like forever. Nothing to say. Only that look, that shrewd glance exchanged between two souls that chose light, despite having passed through fire. It had nothing to do with lost love. It was about respect for one another, emotional history, and seeing someone bounce back from something that should have devastated them with greater grace than before. Lee Min-ho penned something in a leather-bound journal he seldom ever showed anyone later that evening in the solitude of his apartment. She reminded me that I was worth saving, even though she didn't save me. A theater script would never include those words. There was no need to perform those lines. They were genuine confessions. Then, more than ever, he realized what was unique about Song Hye Kyo. It was more than just her grace, beauty, or notoriety. It was her capacity to maintain her softness in a society that expected her to harden. When the world attempted to define her, she found power in silence, her insistence in being herself. She possessed a love he had never seen in any other lady. Deeply, but not loudly. Not in public, but in the places that counted. In presence, in silence. And he cried for that reason. Not with remorse, not even because of heartache, but because he witnessed the very thing that the world all too frequently overlooks. The uncommon, understated enchantment of a woman who never lost faith in grace, as she rose above her anguish and stood tall once more. Thus, when admirers inquire, what caused Lee Min-ho to cry? It's not a straightforward response. It's more than just love. It's about being recognized, understood, and having your spirit touched by someone who never had to speak a word. And perhaps just possibly he wept because Song Hye Kyo had always been his calm in a noisy world.